Champions Cup, the Friday games, there were two. Sorry, I'm a bit late getting this one up, although most of you guys in Europe are probably in bed still. Anyway, but yeah, I had to go and get my son his 4-year-old health check to make sure he's growing and learning and all that stuff. So I watched both of these games. I watched them both live for like the first hour. And then I had to go out and do the family stuff and then to just come back and watch like the final 20 minutes for each game. I probably should be wearing an Ulster jersey after that result, but given their second half performance, I have stuck with the Ospreys one. Partly because I don't want to look for the Ulster hat. It's in a box at the bottom. Somewhere. Anyway, both sides did pretty well. Although Racing in the end got a pretty big win. So I will start with that first one. Racing against Ospreys. It was not one where they were predicted to do very well, the Ospreys, and it didn't start. Although, to be fair, I did actually miss the start of both games. The first few minutes. Luke Morgan's try I missed. I must have got in just after it because it was 5-0 and they were resetting for a kickoff by the time I started that game. So apparently a good start to Ospreys, which I did miss. But as they kicked off, it didn't take long for Racing to get a try out wide from a turnover, made it 5 apiece. They missed the conversion, and then they went in front through him off a few minutes later as well. He intercepted a pass from Marty McKenzie. They kicked the conversion and made it 12 points to 5. Ospreys wouldn't go back in front after conceding that lead. I'm off, yeah. Got another one. I'm trying to read my own notes and I've not put the times very clearly, but yes. After the Marty McKenzie pass, Vola put a little inside ball through to Dupichot, and then he passed it through to Imhoff, who got his second try of the match. His stats at the end I will go over because they were pretty extraordinary. 19 points to 5 at that point. And then Zebo, after a bit of a deadlock, like, to be fair, I had this game on the TV and this game on the computer, which was smaller, because I figured this one is going to be one-sided, this one will be close, so I'll pay more attention to this one. But it did seem to be kind of holding off for a while. I may have made the wrong decision, but to be fair, both games were pretty good. Zebo did break the deadlock eventually. Machino, from the back of a little ruck, he shaped to go one side, and then as he kind of half went through a gap, he popped the ball to Zebo, who went over for a try. 26-5 it was at halftime. It was looking like it was going to be a very long night for Ospreys, but Ospreys had more possession, more territory. Despite that, though, Racing had 322 run meters to 151 at halftime. Tackling Ospreys were at 80%, which for the Champions Cup is on the low side. Racing were at 80. Second half, this guy, Colom, gets a try in 49 minutes after Racing go through a few phases in Ospreys 22. It was coming for a while, and it did come. 33-5, and then Tunga got a try. That one was on 54 minutes, and it was 5 meters out. He went through a gap. It was at the quick ball, and it was 40 points to 5. So it looks like they're going to go maybe 50, 60 points down at that point. But that's where the momentum shifts, because you can see Racing didn't score any more points after that. Klim got a couple. The first one, he just put the hammer down the right wing. He beat off Zebo, who went in for the tackle, and made it a try. So 40 points to 12. Next one, I feel like there was something else. Let me just check one thing. Yeah, that's better. I thought my board was missing something. Price's try. I forget which runner he ran off, but one of the guys just kind of shadowed on through, kind of Ben Smith-like. The runners didn't pick him up. He went through the gap and passed the ball to Price. Conversion hit the post. It's 40 points to 17. There's a bit of a break there, but not too long until Fenter gets his try. It's a chip and regather. Good bounce for him. Over in the corner, 40 points to 22. That's the bonus point, which is their first point in the competition, so credit to them for that. getting an away point here at Racing, which is no mean feat. And then 78 minutes, Klim gets his second. There's a long loopy pass over the top, and he is out there on his own, and sure enough, he's not going to make... Well, he doesn't need an invitation, really. He's just going to go straight over, and sure enough, he did. So, 40 points to 27, it finishes. Bonus point for them, winning bonus point for them. So, Racing looking pretty good in the pool, 17 points. Ospreys get their first point, like I said, but they are still fourth on 1 point. Second half, though, Ospreys won that one 22 points to 14. So, looking on the bright side, I guess that is it. But... yeah, at least those guys held their head up high and didn't end up getting absolutely smashed like it could have been. So, I mean, they still conceded 40 points, but it looked like it was going to be worse. Position and territory evened out throughout this game. Likewise, Ospreys finished with more run meters. Remember, they were down by about half at halftime. Ended up 552 to 515 in Ospreys' favour. Imhoff, though, 135 run meters, 5 clean breaks. He was cleaning up. Klim had 5 defenders beaten. I think he had 4 clean breaks and 102 run meters. So, one of those nights where some of the outside backs managed to find a fair bit of space. Not the best night for the Ospreys off the tee, with just the 1 conversion from 5 tries. That's the first one. Second one, Harlequins and Ulster. I mentioned in the preview that Quins shifted up their team, didn't select some of their more big-name players. Not that they fielded, none of them, but they just didn't field a handful of them. So, I guess that's the result. It's a massive result for Ulster. Absolutely massive. That guy, bloody Cooney, is there again. That guy just will not keep out of the tries. He is phenomenal. He is absolutely phenomenal. 34 points to 10. The game was tight for large periods. When I started watching, it was 3-0 to Ulster. There were some handbags on about 22 minutes. There was a lot of tension seemingly in this game. A fair bit of pressure from Ulster in those first 30 minutes, but they weren't really able to break Harlequins' defence down. A couple of the Quins guys went off for HIAs, and they failed them, which was unfortunate. I think it was Evans and somebody else. But what I'm talking about with Ulster just not being able to quite break through, like at one point, Burns kicked it through, Chris cross kick through to Ludic, and he just got smashed into touch. So Harlequins' defence was really able to hold them up. But eventually, who gets the first try for Ulster? Of course, it's Cooney. Stockdale runs from his own half. I think it was a pass from Burns as well. Faddis is outside him. He runs down the wing, but cuts back inside. He passes the ball to Cooney. He still had a fair bit of work to do to Cooney, but he did it. And sure enough, he kicked the conversion. 10 points to 3, because I forgot to mention Quins had a penalty as well. That's how it was at halftime. But Ulster had 62% possession, 65% territory, and 229 run meters to Quins 163. So they were dominant, but not really that much on the scoreboard. And to be fair, Harlequins looked really dangerous when they were actually getting down Ulster's end. The second half, the first try went to, was it Marshall? I'm trying to read my own writing. Oh, it was the Quins lock. He had a massive tackle burst and line break, but they weren't able to make anything from it. Were Quins, and then it was Ulster back down the other end. It was Luke Marshall. It was a kick through, and despite the fact that it was absolutely pelting down in that second half, a really top-class regather. 17 points to 3 was the score. I really need to take clearer notes. My handwriting is terrible. Cooney again, the man on 59 minutes. Again, a kick, a regather, and a step in that move as well. 24 points to 3. 62 minutes, Quins get a try. The TMO checks for obstruction. He speaks a whole bunch of French. I don't quite catch it, other than that it's all good. It was a good reach out for the line. That one was for Stefan Levis. 24 points to 10. And then there's no more scoring, and At one point, Ulster went for a drop goal when they had advantage, but fortunately they missed it because you think they really need this bonus point, and they did get it through Faddis. It was Quinn's own line out. They missed it, and Ulster spun the ball wide. Great little offload from Stockdale. It was 29 points to 10. That's the bonus point, and you could see that meant a lot to the Ulster players. And then finally, just before full time, Tom O'Toole, he bursts over after a run. And yeah, it was 34 points to 10. They missed those last two conversions, but it didn't really make a difference in the end. So, yeah, massive win for Ulster. Harlequins, if they weren't already, will definitely be focusing on the Premiership now because there's not much for them to play for in the Champions Cup. Final stats, 61% possession Ulster, 67% territory. That's massive. Run meters were pretty even, actually. Tackling, Quins had to make 166, Ulster just 101, so that kind of shows you how the game was going. Stockdale beat 6 defenders. Lang had 18 out of 18 tackles, so there were top performers from both teams. Cooney got man of the match. It's kind of no surprise. The second half was really, really wet, but there were still some good skills on display in that one. Ulster are first in the pool. Remember, Clermont's on 11. They've got a game in hand. Ulster's on 17. And Ulster's next game in the new year is away to Clermont, so that's going to be a massive one. Harlequins will go away to Bath in a bit of a dead rubber for that one. I forgot to mention Racing will host Munster, which will be huge, and Ospreys will host Saracens, which will be a bit of a nothing game for Ospreys, but we'll see where Saracens are at that point as well. So, yeah, those were the games. Cooney, that guy. And multiple try scorers. Clem in that one, Imhoff in that one. Harlequins got on the board as well. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Saturday games to come. You guys let me know your thoughts on these ones. Like I said, I did miss the first few minutes of both the games. How did you feel about the performances? How do you feel about Ulster's chances going forward? Likewise, Racing's. Do you think Ospreys and Quins pretty much play the youth and the dregs or the B team guys? I feel bad to call them dregs because they're professional rugby players, but you know what I mean. For their remaining couple of games. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.